A very good afternoon. Welcome everybody to our Thursday evening streaming. And in this series, we've continued to look at Bible thoughts which perhaps would have stopped people in their tracks or taken their breath away when they first heard the narrative. Now, last week we did when the words came, give me the head of John the Baptist on a plate. And we pondered that drunken feast, which ended rather badly with King Herod. And that followed another drunken feast the week before when King Belshazzar, hundreds of years earlier, had taken the precious gifts of the captured people of Israel and was abusing them in another drunken feast. And then the writing came on the wall and Daniel came to translate. So we've had two on feasts that went badly wrong. And then today we're in fact going back to the story of Daniel, so back those hundreds of years. And the verse which may have just caused people to think, it's now in what we call Daniel chapter 6. It's this. Now when Daniel learned that the decree had been published, he went home to his upstairs room where the windows opened towards Jerusalem. 3 times a day he got down on his knees and prayed, giving thanks to his God, just as he had done before. And the phrase is, where the windows opened towards Jerusalem. Why is that phrase there? Let me give you a little bit of context to this. When Belshazzar, the night of the great feast that went wrong, the writing on the wall, he is thrown out that night and killed, and King Darius takes over. And Darius realizes that Daniel is a very good thing. And Daniel begins helping in all sorts of ways, a little bit like Joseph had helped with Pharaoh all those years before that. But lots of Darius's own kinspeople who had come with him felt jealous of Daniel and weren't quite sure why this young person from the captured people of Israel was increasingly occupying this position of influence. There was a lot of jealousy in the room. So they decided to get rid of him, and they went to Darius and they said, we've got a really good idea, O king, whom we love so much. We want us to have a period of 30 days where no one will pray to their own gods, but they will just focus on you, O king, and they will pray to you. And Darius felt flattered by that and said, okay, we'll have that for 30 days. Now, he was perhaps wrong to be over-flattered by that or to react so quickly, because what the advisors, how his friends had in mind, was that they knew Daniel could not obey this law, because Daniel, being an observant, good Jewish person, he would pray to his God no matter what. But as soon as that law was passed, Daniel knew he was finished, thrown to the lions, literally, as it turns out. And so what does he do? When he learns that the decree has been published, he went home to his upstairs room where the windows opened towards Jerusalem. We don't need to know that the windows open towards Jerusalem, but the narrator puts that in. And perhaps there's 2 things going on here. Jerusalem is Daniel's spiritual home. And also Jerusalem is a place of hope, and a place of hope for return and coming home. And for us, when we are put under great pressure, perhaps it's good to think, where have been the places, where have been the times which have really felt our spiritual home? If we knew that the end was coming, where would we go to pray if we could? Where would we, in which direction would we open the windows? For Daniel, he wanted them open towards Jerusalem, because that had been his home, his place of blessing. That is what he had remembered. And possibly, well, certainly he himself hadn't been there, but that was his homeland. It's good for us to remember those places of spiritual blessing, our spiritual home. It's good also to be people of hope. As I say, Jerusalem represents hope as well. And so Daniel wants to be reminded of that. He prays as he's always done. 3 times a day he got down on his knees and prayed, giving thanks to his God, just as he had done before. He's in front of the window, so he's visible. And so everybody knows he's not obeying this new law. and he's taken and he's thrown into the lions. Darius, the king, realizes he's been trapped. May your God, whom you serve continually, rescue you. But still he's in with the lions. But the lions do not touch him. And Darius then realizes that his advisors, who had semi-tricked him, had got this badly wrong, and that Daniel himself was innocent and could be restored to all he should be. I just wonder if there's a tiny echo of this in the New Testament, or people may have wondered when Christ was in front of Pilate, and Pilate knew he was innocent and knew that people were trying to trick him, Pilate, into executing Jesus. Were there any observers who thought maybe Pilate may follow Darius's example and realize this person is innocent after all? I mustn't press that too much, because Darius did initially allow Daniel to be thrown to the lions. But there is that situation for Darius, for Pilate, for us, when we are faced with someone who is not as guilty as others may be saying he or she is. How do we react to that? So there's also the question of principle. For Daniel, this was a line that he would not cross. He was not going to pray or worship the king. He would worship God. What are the lines that I will not cross? What are the lines that you would not cross? Where really are our principles? Where's that moment where with Martin Luther, we may say, as is attributed, "Here I stand, I can do no other." Daniel did not know he was going to be rescued from the lions. He would have thought the end had come. So he went to his room and prayed, and opened the windows, the ones which faced Jerusalem, his spiritual home. And he remembered all that Jerusalem signified and all that it could signify for the future. May we be people who remember well, who travel well, and who have much hope and expectation that our God will see us safely through. Thank you so much for listening this evening. Tomorrow, if you're free at 5:30, the Celtic Spirituality Reflection will be about the wind and breath of God as we look towards Pentecost on Sunday. Thank you.